We love talking about boundaries around here, so let's talk about them some more. This was a question that came in from someone who asked about emotional boundaries. How do we set our own emotional boundaries for ourselves when we feel ourselves being emotionally activated by something? When something is hitting us in a certain way and we want to be able to set a boundary around protecting our own emotional well-being. So that is what we are going to talk about. I think I've got 6 different types of emotional boundaries, and I'm going to give you an example of each one and an example of how to set a boundary within that category. If you do want to just sort of get yourself comfortable with setting boundaries and learning how to say no in clear yet kind ways, then I have a free guide for you. It's 25 ways to say no. It's in the description below. It's free. Click on the link and you can get that. That is going to be great for getting you started on learning how to say no if, for you, that's a really difficult word to spit out of your mouth. If you are new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second, introduce yourself in the comment section below. If you're back again, it is always good to have you. Special shout out to my shifters, the members of the Shift Society who are here and getting extra credit for learning more in between our group sessions. So good to have you here. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. The button's about right down there. Like the video if you get something out of it. That would be amazing. Share this out. If this is something that you think other people need to know about, then please do that. Either way, my name is Kristina, and I am a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, and the creator of my membership community that I just mentioned, the Shift Society, where we are taking this work to the next level. You are getting tools, step-by-steps, and support to learn how to manage your mind and emotions. Feel more solid and secure in who you are, no matter whoever or whatever is going on around you. And you can get more information about the Shift Society in the description as well. I help heart-centered humans break through the crap that is holding them back so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And so emotional boundaries really are about paying attention to what's going on inside of us when something is happening around us or is going to potentially happen around us, and we are setting our emotional boundaries for ourselves to respect our own limits or even our own wants, needs, and preferences. We are paying attention to what's going on inside of us and what we need to do to take care of our emotional needs in those moments. This isn't about trying to control everyone else. This isn't about trying to change everyone else. We know that that doesn't work. That just creates even more anxiety when we're trying to change and control everyone around us to comply to what we need in order to feel okay at every moment. I mean, of course, in relationships, we can ask for adjustment in behavior or in habits or in, ways we're being talked to or how things are working. We can ask. We work together. We work on adjustments together and make requests for adjustments, each person in that relationship, so that the relationship can be working better if there's things that aren't working. But when it comes to setting emotional boundaries for ourselves, this is our own individual process that we are going to do on our own and really be paying attention to the things around us that are not okay with us and then what we need to do to take care of our emotional state in those circumstances. So let's get right into these. And the first type of boundary, the first type of emotional boundary is the triggering conversation boundary. Now, especially in so many things that are happening around the world right now, political views that differ, social views that differ, religious views that differ, whatever it is, there are often triggering conversations. So topics or conversations with someone that usually someone that sees things differently than us. Usually we don't get triggered by people that agree with us and see things the same way, but somebody who sees something different, somebody who has a different idea or opinion, someone who is wanting to talk about something that makes us really uncomfortable, that brings up a big emotion in us, and noticing that within ourselves and being able to pay attention to that. So what do we do? How do we set a boundary when there is a triggering conversation or a triggering topic that comes up and you have to excuse, there's a street sweeper outside and I've got the window open because it's really warm and I need that air, but it just means we get a little bit of street noise. We'll wait for the street sweeper to pass. It's probably passed enough by now. Or it's going to just hang out there for a little bit. Sounds kind of like a leaf blower. Take a second and take a deep breath right now while you wait if you need to. But those triggering conversation boundaries, if a topic comes up or a conversation goes in a direction, you notice yourself starting to feel that kind of fight or flight, that triggering feeling, that flipping feeling in your belly, that tightness in your chest, the tingling in your armpits, that hot feeling in your head. You notice yourself getting activated, getting angry, getting upset, being able to say, I am feeling triggered in this conversation. I need to take a break or end this conversation because I don't want to say something either hurtful or that I'll regret. Or even you can say, I'm feeling triggered by this conversation. I don't think that it's going to go anywhere good. We've had this conversation before. We don't see things the same way. I don't think it's going to go anywhere good. And so I think that we need to move on to something else or talk another time. Simple as that. Another emotional boundary is a labeling boundary. And what this looks like is if you are talking to someone, interacting with someone, and they are labeling you in some way. Maybe you're sharing something that's important to you, something that upset you, something that you're frustrated about, and they're like, oh, you're too sensitive, or you're too needy, or you're always making such a big deal out of everything. And I mean, that's just not a helpful way to interact in a conversation. And it's not helpful, especially if you're just bringing up something that's important to you and the person doesn't want to deal with it. And so they try to shut down the conversation by labeling you as something and basically saying, like, I'm not going to address this issue because it's just you being too needy or too sensitive or, taking things too personally and like dismissing that. And maybe you are taking something personally that isn't personally personal. Maybe you are being overly sensitive to something that wasn't meant a certain way, right? Maybe those things are happening, but that person just sort of labeling you and shutting you down like that isn't a helpful way to communicate and to work the issue through. And so being able to say to them, this is an issue that we need to talk about, and labeling me as needy or too sensitive or whatever that is, that's not helpful for us to be able to work through this issue. So that's setting a boundary and saying, please don't call me names or give me labels. That's just not helping us get to the other side of this. Another emotional boundary is support boundaries. And I've actually been surprised to see how many times this has come up in the Shift Society, in my membership community, people talking about friendships that they are finding really challenging and really one-sided. So that particular friend is going through a lot, or maybe they've been going through a lot for a long time and have relied on their friend to support them, to be there for them. And they're always kind of bringing their stuff and their problems, and, they're complaining about a lot, and they're, maybe even being really negative about a lot and being really hopeless about a lot. And every time you try to offer any kind of feedback or suggestions, they turn it down or they discount it, or, it's just kind of really frustrating. And it's probably frustrating for both people. For the person going through the hard thing, it's frustrating for them because they're feeling maybe really stuck and hopeless. And it's frustrating for you because you're like, I don't know how to help them and I don't know what to do, and they need a lot right now. And maybe you're even going through a lot of your own stuff and you don't have the capacity to be kind of this never-ending support person in their life, and you're finding it really, really hard, especially if they're never really able to be there for you and it's feeling really one-sided. And you're struggling with that but don't know what to do, right? Because they're struggling, so you don't want to be a jerk and just ghost them and be like, good riddance, like, deal with your own stuff, not my problem. I mean, obviously, if you're a compassionate enough person to have been there this much for them, that's not your first thought on how to respond or react to whatever it is that they are bringing to you. But we do need to respect our limits when it comes to how much support we can give to someone else, especially if we are going through our own stuff. And even being able just to say to them, I know you are going through a lot right now, but I am also struggling to keep my own head above water, so I can't be your main support. I can be there sometimes, I just can't be there all the time. Or maybe it is for you, you're like, I can't be there at all right now because I've got so much of my own stuff going on. And being able to say that to them and like respecting that, right? Like acknowledging that like they're going through a lot, which is why they're bringing all this stuff to you, and being able to say, no, you're going through a lot right now. I'm just going through so much of my own stuff right now, trying to keep my head above water, trying to keep myself going. So I don't have anything else to give. I can't be that support person for you, and I'm sorry. Firm, clear, kind. Those are the things that we want in a boundary. The next type of emotional boundary is feedback boundaries. And this comes up a lot when you're sharing something that you're going through, something you're struggling with, and someone tries to, bless their hearts, they're trying to help you out. They're trying to, help you get through it. So they're offering their feedback, their suggestions, their advice, and you just notice yourself getting more and more irritated. Have you ever had that where like you're sharing a problem with someone, they're like, well, why don't you do this? Like, you should do this. Like, what, like, have you tried this? Like, why don't you do that? And you're like, oh my gosh, just listen to me. I just want to be heard. I don't want a solution. I don't want you to fix it. I don't need you to do that. And the other person is thinking they're doing something good by trying to offer that advice and those suggestions to give you a solution to your problem, but you're like, that's not what I want. So being able to give a feedback boundary, just saying clearly, I don't need feedback, advice, or suggestions right now. I just need someone to listen to and support me. Kind of just need someone to be on my side in this and just to hear me out. And so it's great because you get what you need and they are let off the hook. They don't have to fix it for you. And it's actually a relief for everyone. So being able to give those feedback boundaries and just saying, this is what I don't need, this is what I do need, setting the whole interaction up for success. And you may need to remind them a few times, especially, because it's sort of human nature. If there's a problem, we try to fix it. And so they might go into that problem solving mode again. And you may have to remind them like, hey, I don't need suggestions right now. And maybe even I know what I need to do, but right now I'm not ready to do it. And so I just need someone to just hear me out, to like tell me that they are here for me, that they love me anyways, and that they support me no matter what. That's all I need right now. Another type of emotional boundary is an information boundary. I have talked about this one before here. I can't remember where, but I know I've talked about this one before, but being able to have boundaries about what information you are willing to share with someone, even if they ask, right? Someone can ask for some information. You don't have to share that information if you don't want to. So if someone says to you, like, can you tell me more about this? Or how did this go? Or like, what were your numbers on this? Or what were the results of this? Or, what happened in this situation? Or, whatever that is. You're allowed to say to them, thanks for asking. I'm just not comfortable or even ready to talk about this. So you can just say, I'm just not comfortable talking about this. Like point blank, not comfortable talking about it. Or you could say, I'm just not ready to talk about it. Maybe you will talk about it with them at some point, but you're just not ready to at this moment. Having those information boundaries, you are allowed to decide what you will or won't share with anyone, what you're willing to or not willing to share with anyone. Just because they asked doesn't mean you have to tell them. And then another one here is our privacy boundaries. Really being able to ask for privacy or to remind people of your expectations about privacy. And you can do that before, you can do it after, right? Sometimes it's good to do it before if you're unsure, like being able to say this information that I shared with you, please don't share it with anyone else. Or being able to say like, I'm going to share some information with you, I'm going to share something with you, but can you keep this between you and I? Can you keep this private? And if they're like, no, I can't, I tell my partner everything, or, I'm just not comfortable, like not being able to share this with whoever, whenever. So they're like, okay, good, I will not share it with you. And maybe they're like, yeah, of course you can share this with me. And then, you do that. Or setting the boundary after the fact. If, you know, this often happens with family members, your sister, your cousin, your mother, your uncle, they know something about you that you don't necessarily want everyone to know, but they kind of take it upon themselves to share that information publicly at a family gathering. Or did you know that Julia, I'm just trying to think, I'm not a very private person, so I'm just trying to think of something that I'd be uncomfortable with. But maybe it's for you. It's like, it doesn't matter what that is. Maybe your mom's like, oh, you know, June, call her June. June just got a big promotion and now she's making, you know, $75,000 a year. Isn't that amazing? And you're like, I'm not comfortable with you sharing my income with other people, right? The person is maybe coming from a good place, but it's not their information to share. And maybe they don't know that. They think that this is great news. Everyone should know. And this happens a lot with people where family members or friends or whoever shares information that you're like, I didn't want everyone to know that. That was private. And so being able to share those privacy boundaries and being able to say, it makes me really uncomfortable when you share this information without my permission. Makes it really uncomfortable when you tell people stuff about me that I don't really, like, I didn't want them to know. I didn't want to be public information. Please don't do that without my permission. Please don't share anything, even sharing really anything about me without talking to me first and asking for those privacy boundaries. Or like I said, if you are, you know, want to make it extra clear before sharing the information, making sure the person knows this is not shareable information. This is not public knowledge and I don't want it to be. So those are 6 types of emotional boundaries: triggering conversation boundaries, labeling boundaries, support boundaries, feedback boundaries, information boundaries, and privacy boundaries. Which one are you going to start working on today? Let me know in the comment section below. Which one are you like, yep, I've noticed this one, you know, creating some problems with not respecting this boundary within myself, and it's not okay with me. And so I'm going to start respecting it. Let me know in the comments section below. And again, get that 25 ways to say no. That one's free. And if you want to get good, solid communication skills, get my workshop. It's called Speak and Feel Heard. It's a recorded course, gives you the step-by-step process on how to speak and feel heard. It's about effective and assertive communication. Tools, resources, step-by-steps to get you comfortable and confident with your voice in any situation. Grab that, Speak and Feel Heard. That will be in the description below. Let me know what connected with you. It's always good to have you here. Like the video if you got something out of it. That would be amazing. And yeah, take good care of yourself. Take good care of those around you. See you soon.